Today, I want you to imagine something bold. That inside you right now, there is a force waiting to be unleashed. A force that has the power to reshape your future, rewrite your story, and redefine what you believe is possible. And the key to unlocking that force begins with one thing: purpose. When you find your purpose, you don't just gain direction, you gain identity. You gain energy. You gain a reason to rise when life tries to push you down. Because purpose isn't a luxury, it's fuel. It's the reason some people walk into a room with fire in their eyes, while others feel like life is happening to them instead of through them. Purpose is the internal compass that transforms confusion into clarity and stagnation into momentum, because it acts as a guiding force that influences how you think, behave, and move through the world. When a person lacks purpose, life often feels like a series of random events, obligations, and expectations. Days blend together, and decisions become reactions rather than conscious choices. But when purpose enters the picture, everything shifts. It becomes the lens through which you interpret challenges and the anchor that keeps you steady when life feels chaotic. Suddenly, setbacks aren't evidence that you're failing, they're signals redirecting you toward what truly matters. Purpose gives meaning to struggle, direction to effort, and energy to growth. It is the difference between waking up with dread or waking up with drive. It influences how you spend your time, who you surround yourself with, and what you're willing to fight for. Purpose is not just a lofty idea reserved for dreamers or visionaries. It is a practical, powerful tool that shapes the smallest actions and the biggest decisions. It helps you filter out noise and distractions, allowing you to invest your energy where it truly counts. Without purpose, even small obstacles can feel overwhelming. But with purpose, even great challenges feel conquerable because you know why you're pushing forward. When you understand your purpose, you no longer chase validation or approval. You move with intention. You speak with conviction. You make choices that align with your values rather than your fears. And this alignment creates a sense of internal strength that fuels resilience, creativity, and confidence. The momentum that purpose creates is not forced. It's natural. It comes from being deeply connected to something meaningful, something that resonates with who you are. You stop procrastinating because the work in front of you is tied to something bigger than the task itself. You stop comparing yourself to others because purpose shifts your focus from competition to contribution. It allows you to trust the journey even when the destination isn't fully clear because the direction feels right. When purpose becomes your compass, life doesn't become easier, but it becomes clearer. You make peace with the fact that not every answer will appear instantly, yet you move forward anyway because you're no longer wandering, you're pursuing. The clarity you gain doesn't remove uncertainty, but it empowers you to navigate uncertainty with courage. Purpose creates a sense of forward motion that lifts you out of stagnation and into possibility, propelling you toward the person you are meant to become. Inner power comes alive the moment you take ownership of your decisions, emotions, and direction, because ownership is the bridge between who you are now and who you have the potential to become. Most people go through life feeling powerless, not because they lack ability, but because they have given away control without even realizing it. They blame circumstances, other people, or their past for where they are, hoping that something outside of them will create change. But true power doesn't come from external conditions. It comes from stepping into responsibility with honesty and courage. When you recognize that you are the source of your choices, your reactions, and your path forward, something profound shifts inside you. You stop feeling like life is happening to you, and you begin to understand that life responds to the meaning you assign, the actions you take, and the standard you set for yourself. Ownership doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you never struggle or make mistakes. It means you refuse to let excuses define you. Instead of saying, I can't, you begin asking, how can I? Instead of saying, this is just the way I am, you start choosing who you want to be. It is a shift from victimhood to leadership of your own life. And with that shift comes a level of power that many people never experience because they're too busy waiting for circumstances to improve before they decide to rise. But power doesn't come after change, it creates change. When you take ownership, you reclaim authority over your emotions. You begin to see that while you cannot control everything that happens around you, you can control the meaning you attach to it and the response you choose. That is where your strength is built. This kind of ownership ignites a momentum that transforms your mindset and behavior. You stop playing small because you recognize that playing small only protects your fears, not your future. You begin to take bolder actions because you trust yourself more deeply. Responsibility creates confidence, and confidence fuels action. Every time you choose accountability instead of avoidance, your inner power grows. You start making decisions that align with your values rather than your insecurities. You begin setting boundaries that protect your energy instead of allowing everything and everyone to drain you. And with each choice, you reinforce the belief that your life is not accidental. You are shaping it intentionally. As you keep stepping into ownership, you realize that the power you were searching for was never missing. It was simply unused. It was waiting for the moment you decided to claim it. By taking responsibility for the direction of your life, the energy you bring, and the future you commit to creating. Every individual has a unique calling, but most people silence it out of fear, doubt, or conditioning because the world often teaches us to fit in long before it teaches us to listen within. From an early age, many people are encouraged to follow safe paths, to pursue what is practical, or to live according to the expectations of others. Over time, those external voices become so loud that the inner voice, the one guiding you toward your true purpose, fades into the background. Yet that calling never disappears. It shows up as intuition, as curiosity, as dreams that refuse to go away. It appears in the things that energize you, the problems you feel compelled to solve, or the passions that make you feel most alive. But because fear whispers that you might fail, doubt insists you're not ready, and conditioning tells you to play small, far too many people ignore the very call that could transform their lives. Fear is powerful because it disguises itself as protection. It convinces you to avoid risks, even when the risk is essential for growth. Doubt, on the other hand, chips away at your confidence, making you question your abilities, your worth, or your right to pursue something bigger. And conditioning, formed from years of societal pressures, cultural norms, or family expectations, creates invisible boundaries around what you believe is possible for you. When these forces combine, they create a psychological cage that keeps people from stepping toward the life that was meant for them. Even when the calling becomes undeniable, most individuals still choose familiarity over fulfillment simply because the unknown feels too intimidating. But your calling is not random. It is the expression of your gifts, your experiences, your values, and your deepest desires. It is the part of you that knows exactly where your fulfillment and contribution intersect. When you pay attention to that calling, you begin to see areas where you naturally excel or feel compelled to grow. You notice patterns in the things that excite you and the moments that make you feel purposeful. These signals are not accidents. They are clues pointing you toward a life that aligns with who you truly are. When someone chooses to honor their calling, even in small ways, they begin to reclaim their sense of direction and identity. They start to move from surviving to creating, from drifting to building. The courage to follow that inner voice does not eliminate fear or doubt, but it weakens their influence, because purpose becomes stronger than hesitation. By choosing to listen to that calling instead of silencing it, you open the door to a life that reflects your authenticity, your potential, and the impact you were meant to make. Breakthroughs happen when you stop waiting for permission and start acting with intention, because every major shift in life begins with a moment of personal decision, not external approval. Most people spend years holding themselves back, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they are waiting for the perfect timing, waiting for validation, waiting for someone else to confirm that their dream is worthy. This waiting becomes a silent trap. It keeps individuals stuck in a cycle of hesitation while their potential remains dormant. But the truth is, no one can grant you the authority to step into your purpose. That authority is already yours, and the moment you choose to claim it, everything changes. Acting with intention means you move not out of impulse, pressure, or fear, but out of clarity. It means your actions reflect your values, your goals, and your sense of direction. When you act with intention, even small steps carry immense power because they are aligned with a deeper purpose. There is a confidence that comes from choosing your path instead of waiting for someone to draw it for you. It is the difference between drifting through life and directing your life. Many people imagine breakthroughs as sudden dramatic events, but in reality, breakthroughs are born from a shift in mindset. The shift from passively hoping to actively choosing. Permission becomes irrelevant once you realize that most limitations are self-imposed. The barriers that hold people back often come from beliefs such as "I'm not ready," "I might fail," or "what will people think?" These beliefs create mental walls that feel real, but are nothing more than stories repeated over time. When you stop seeking permission, you stop feeding those stories. You replace hesitation with courage, uncertainty with curiosity, and doubt with commitment. The moment you act with intention, you begin building momentum. You don't wait for confidence before taking action. You gain confidence because you take action. Breakthroughs also require a willingness to take responsibility for your direction. When you act with intention, you understand that progress is not guaranteed, but it is always possible. You learn to trust your instincts, to honor your intuition, and to respect your vision even when others don't fully understand it. You start valuing your own voice over external noise. In doing so, you unlock a new level of power. The power to change your circumstances, to redefine your identity, and to create opportunities that once seemed out of reach. Every person has the ability to experience breakthroughs, but only those who stop waiting and start leading themselves will access them. Intention is the catalyst that turns dreams into plans, plans into action, and action into transformation. Finding purpose is not about discovering something outside yourself. It's about awakening what has always been within, because purpose isn't a distant destination or a hidden treasure waiting to be stumbled upon. It is part of your identity, woven into your passions, your strengths, your struggles, and the way you naturally see the world. Many people think purpose is something they must search for endlessly, as if it exists somewhere far away. They look for it in careers, relationships, achievements, or recognition. They assume that once they find the right external circumstance, everything will make sense. But purpose doesn't work that way. It is not something you uncover by chasing the world. It is something revealed when you finally turn inward and begin listening to yourself with honesty and courage. Within every person, there is a set of desires, values, and gifts that create a kind of internal blueprint. This blueprint influences what excites you, what frustrates you, what you feel called to protect, build, or change. These are not random preferences, they are signals pointing toward your purpose. However, these signals often get buried under layers of fear, expectations, busyness, and the noise of everyday life. You might overlook them because they seem too obvious, too simple, or too different from what others expect of you, but purpose is rarely loud. It reveals itself in subtle patterns, in the moments when you feel most alive, and in the ideas you can't let go of even when you try. Awakening your purpose requires awareness. Awareness of what energizes you, what drains you, what feels meaningful, and what feels empty. It requires the willingness to be honest about what you truly want, not what you think you should want. For many people, this honesty is uncomfortable because it challenges old beliefs, long-standing habits, and the identity they have built to fit into the world. But the discomfort is part of the awakening. When you begin reconnecting with your inner voice, you revive parts of yourself that may have been neglected for years. You begin making choices that align with who you are rather than who you were taught to be. This awakening brings clarity. It helps you understand that purpose isn't a single mission or grand achievement. It is the way you show up in the world. It is the unique combination of your passions, your strengths, your compassion, and your desire to grow. When you realize your purpose is already within you, you stop chasing validation and start expressing your truth. You stop trying to fit into someone else's path and begin walking your own. And as you awaken this inner purpose, you naturally tap into a deeper power, a power that fuels resilience, creativity, and fulfillment, guiding you toward a life that feels authentic, meaningful, and entirely your own.